This is Energy of Business Moments with Michael Sipe, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their business success into your life and business. Energy of Business Moments is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Michael Sipe.
Hey there, everyone. I'm Michael Sipe, host of the Strategic Advisor Board Energy of Business Moments podcast. And I am excited today because at the Strategic Advisor Board, we teach our clients, our business owners, the importance of allocating time wisely. And so if you've been thinking in your own business about allocating time in a better way to gain back some freedom, our guest today has got some great advice for you, and you'll enjoy listening to her. So one of the things that we teach is, as a business owner, you need to know about the strategic stuff in your work, and you need to know about the operational things, and you need to do the have the tactical piece. But so often as a solopreneur, we're doing all of those. But as you grow in your business, you start having to offload some of those, because if you're not putting time and effort into the strategic, you're not going to grow at a greater pace. So being able to offload some of that stuff is really important. That's why our guest today, Molly Rose Speed, is here. And she is the founder of Virtual Assistant Management and also the creator of the Virtual Assistant Academy, which provides trusted VA certification and placement of VAs for you so that you can gain some time back into your day to allocate it, whether it's for fun or to grow your business. So Molly Rose, welcome to the show.
Hi, Michael. Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, great. Well, Molly, I've done a little bit in explaining about your business, but I'd like to hear more about your background and how you started the business and what it has evolved to today. So if you could share with our listeners and audience, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So about 13 years ago, I was a 20-something-year-old in corporate America, and I realized that wasn't the path that I wanted to take. I was also a military spouse, and my lifestyle was very unpredictable. My husband was deploying all the time. And so I realized really quickly I needed to have a very flexible career, AKA not something that my 8 to 5 was going to provide. So I became what we all know now as a virtual assistant. And at the time, I didn't know what that was. I didn't even know what entrepreneurship was. It wasn't as widely talked about as it is now. But I kind of fell into it, and I learned everything I possibly could to become a really amazing virtual assistant over the next 5 years. And along the way, I had fellow military spouses asking me, how do I do what you do? You're making good money. You seem really happy. You're traveling, all checking all the boxes that I wanted to do. And one too many conversations later of telling them how to become a virtual assistant, I realized I had a bigger mission on my hands to tackle training and placing virtual assistants. So I created the Virtual Assistant Academy, the first iteration. It's gone through a few versions, and now we have a certification behind us, and we've certified over 150 virtual assistants. And about 4 years ago, COVID kind of made me time travel here. I started a placement agency. And so all my certified virtual assistants now, we have a consultative process to place them with all sorts of online business owners. So it's been a really awesome journey that I never saw coming.
Wow. And congratulations on certifying 150. That's a lot.
Thank you.
And it's a good example of growth and taking an idea and running with that and making it even bigger than it started out to be, and seeing a need actually in the marketplace. So that's great. I also can appreciate it as a veteran myself, and having deployed and had people explain it's really hard finding a job and for the spouse and all that. So how do I get a job? And boy, the ability to be remote today and leverage some of the expertise. And I'm going to guess that a lot of your spouses or VAs that you have aren't just administrative people, that actually have college degrees and that they bring in other depth that maybe a traditional VA firm might not have. So could you share a little bit more about that part?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say about 80% of our virtual assistants are actually military spouses, just due to my network and the referrals that we get. And they're from all walks of life. So some have master's degrees, some have high school degrees, some are former nurses, physician's assistants, lawyers. It's crazy and kind of mind-boggling when some of these women started to register or enroll in the program. I'm like, you want to do what? But it's really because they needed the flexibility. They were becoming stay-at-home moms or that. So it really brought in a really diverse group and so many different personalities. From all parts of the world for the most part. I mean, we even have overseas VAs that are now stateside. So it's just been really neat to see the depth of the culture within our VAs as well.
Yeah, great. I love that. And when you start expanding the idea of what does business look like, and business does come in many, many different forms. And so the traditional need of somebody coming in and answering email or sending letters out or stuff like that's just not the case anymore. And more importantly, being a nurse's assistant or physician assistant and knowing the background of all the things, the compliance things that need to go on, all that kind of expertise is actually quite valuable, and the cost is probably very, very competitive compared to having somebody in person. So great to have that kind of expansion. Mm-hmm. Well, Molly Rose, I'm curious too. We all have some great moments with our business. It's probably why we continue to be in business, is because we enjoy that so much. Could you share with our audience something in your journey of having your own business that was a high moment for you and why it was so significant?
Yeah, so I was slow to grow my training academy because I was doing my own work and I was just kind of providing this as a resource to anyone who asked how they could get started. And then I kind of got serious about it. I was like, I can help a lot more women, predominantly. Men can have taken the program as well, but we have mostly women, so I speak to that. And so I decided to put some more intentionality into the training and launching to get more students enrolled. And by intentionality, I mean, I shifted not only to them learning just online, but also to add a live version. I mean, we were online on Zoom, but it was me teaching, interacting with them. And so when I launched this live version of my program, I got 10 VAs all at once. And before that, I'd get maybe, once a month or, it was very slow growing at the very beginning. And I was just so excited to get 10 all at once. And they were so eager and so excited. So we spent about 3 months together on calls, and I really got to know them. And this is where I really got to learn how different all the VAs were, from personalities to skill sets to their ambition to what they want to do and who they want to work for. So I learned a lot in that, but it also was by far the best 10 virtual assistants I've ever trained. So they've gone on to kind of become the backbone of my placement agency. I can basically hand them any client and know that they're going to run with it with no problem. So it was really a big shift for me. And it was cool to see 10 success stories happen really quickly. So.
Yeah, great story. And when one's used to a certain flow rate with business, to have something jump like that all at once is very cool. And then the icing on the cake there is and they were really quality people, and they became so instrumental to providing even more service for your business. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I'm also curious, do you have any customer or client stories that were I am so glad I have this this person helping me, and I had no idea how freeing it would be.
Yes. So I have a specific virtual assistant. Her name's Heather, who came out of that cohort. And I've put her in front of some pretty tough clients. She's the one where, and by tough, I mean, think of an entrepreneur, and some of you might be able to raise your hand at this, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs hold this hat, but I call them squirrels. They're like, ooh, shiny object. Ooh, idea. I'm going over here. I'm going over here. We're doing this. We're doing this. And so, the power of focus isn't quite there. So it takes a really talented VA to be able to kind of manage and juggle that. So having her and the stories that have come from her clients. So we have a follow-up sequence with our clients once they become placed, where we are like, how's it going? Anything we can work on? And the stories we get for her specifically, just to be able to come in and manage that overwhelm has been awesome. So I'm like, can I just create 10 Heathers, and we're working on that, right? She's now teaching others how to kind of juggle that type of need as well. But that's been kind of a cool story for one specific VA, and just be able to manage that and be able to offer that now to our squirrely clients, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. When you talk squirrely, that's so like, I thought of a couple of your clients who are like, yeah, shiny object. And they want to go off and do something. We're like, yeah, but there's this core part that you were going to work on. We got to get that together first, right? Those are other great ideas and we'll get there, but let's stick with this right now. And so if you have somebody who kind of keep those people in line, man, that's going to serve them well, not just from a time perspective, but also from getting stuff done perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. Well, obviously there are ups in business, and sometimes the client facing side or the customer side, they don't see the downs we have in business. Now, sometimes they are right in the middle of those downs because they're not happy with something that is going on with the business. However, there's a lot that they don't see. So could you share with our audience maybe a low moment for you and why it was such a low moment and how you shifted out of it? What did you do mentally to get out of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was pre-pandemic. We had just launched our placement agency. And by that, I mean, I'd gone to our VAs that we wanted to be on our management team. And I was just so excited. I said, okay, I have this idea. We're going to create an agency and we're going to be able to place you. So no longer do you have to go out and market yourself. And I'm always, bragging on them to get on social media and share your services. And they hate doing that because we're kind of introverted in nature. And I'm like, I'm going to bring you the clients. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be a cool workforce. Well, we all got excited for that. And we launched and it was like crickets. And it wasn't what I expected. And I think it was just the timing of things. So we, landed a few clients here, but they just weren't super strong. They weren't able to meet, like we wanted to have minimum requirements and certain price points, and they were asking for exceptions, and it just didn't go as we wanted to. And then the pandemic hit, and we were, no one was doing anything until they were doing something. So the low point, just to stay there, was really challenging for me because I promised and amped up these women that we were going to do this. I was kind of embarrassed. And it just was really belittling. I was like, oh, this isn't going to go where I wanted it to go. And so to kind of stay in that, I always surround myself by mentors. So whether I'm paying a business coach or I'm tapping the shoulder of someone that is older than me and has been there and done that, I really heavily started speaking with that person to just kind of keep me in that mindset every day. Like, this is going to work. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. And I'm happy I did, because as we know, the COVID, for some, it was very detrimental to businesses, and for others, it really amplified businesses. And what happened? We all went virtual. And so everybody got really, really comfortable working with virtual assistants. And then we had the problem of, we had so many referrals and inquiries that we couldn't keep up. So it was kind of a catch right there. But right before that happened, it was a really hard point for me personally to do that.
Yeah. When we're in a position of either real or perceived responsibility for other people, it can weigh on us when we're not able to provide. And especially when we've said that we're going to provide in a way that is exciting and then it falls flat. So that's a great example. And if you had one word or attribute that you would describe your mindset, if you will, was it grit? Was it resilience? Was it perseverance? What was the one thing that you would say carried you through to the point where, then that market changed and COVID happened and people needed virtual assistance?
I'm going to say it was, the word that's coming to mind is responsibility. So I felt, and that's just one of my core values as well. So it's interesting that popped out, obviously. But I think that I felt responsible to them. They could go get their own clients, but if I was having a hard time, they probably were too. Actually, I know they were. And so I just felt that we had to keep doing what we needed to do and putting ourselves out there to be responsible for this offer that we had made to them.
Oh, yeah, great. Responsibility is a great driver. It can be a specific sort of energy to it, and helps propel us forward when we have that feeling. So good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Well, as you talked earlier about, having mentors, business coach, and so forth, that's great. When we can meet with them and they provide that advice, so valuable. But sometimes there are these other people that we kind of wish we could talk to. And sometimes most of them are deceased, but there are also some living ones too. So for you, Mary Rose, who would you, if you could talk to anybody, who would that person be and why would you talk to them?
Okay. I love this question. And I was asked this about a year ago, and it took me a really long time to come up with this, because I would say like a chef that I cook out of her cookbook. And I'm like, no, that's not it. But I think in my business space, it's Michelle Obama. And the reason, there's so many reasons why, but specifically her work when she was in office with her husband was for the military spouses and for women. I started to see a shift on base, on resources, on women starting to kind of wake up a little bit, spouses, and doing their own thing and finding their own way and their purpose, and then having resources to be able to do that. And so I think not only from a business perspective, would I love to share with her what I'm doing, but I'd also love to just learn from her and how that mission kind of drove her, because that's my driving force as well, to employ military spouses. So I just think she's amazing. So that would be a great coffee date.
Yeah, and very inspirational, because you just talked about the impact that she had, and you could feel it down at the grassroots level. And she did it from up there, way far away, and the impact that had. So how did she do that? That would be a great thing to kind of learn about, right? Yeah, good. Well, Rose, our audience sometimes can really connect with our guests. And so sometimes it might be like, yeah, I think I need that service, or I'd like to talk to that person some more. So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, get a hold of you, or visit your website, how can they do that? What's the best way?
Yes. So I'm Molly Rose Speed, and you can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram if that's where you hang out. Happy to converse with you, message you if you have any questions about running a team, or if you're going to make your first hire. That's my sweet spot. And then if you're ready to hire a virtual assistant, virtualassistantmanagement.com is where you can book a free call. I have an amazing business partner. Her name's Christina, and she is a genius at making placements. I don't know how she does it, but she'll talk to you for 10 minutes and she knows exactly who it's going to be. And we have a great service that we love to provide to entrepreneurs. So we'd love to hear from you.
Okay. Well, great. And that high touch service, having that placement person, if they have that genius, like you said, saves so much time with the wrong assistant.
Yes.
And so having, I think for a lot of people, they're like, oh, I'm going to continue to do it myself. And then they bite the bullet and they're like, okay, but I'll just, get somebody I think that is good for me. And the challenge I've seen is that, they don't realize how much time they need to invest to train that person in the way that they need them trained. But the savings, especially if you've got a placement person plus the time invested, the savings are immense. And I think the other part to it is, as a business owner, especially, when one thinks about the revenue per hour spent of the day, when one is a business owner spending time on strategic things like JV partnerships, opportunities in new markets, and being able to find the time to invest in time and effort to go and get into those new markets, they wouldn't have that if they hadn't offloaded some of that business already. And if you've got somebody who totally understands you, you can offload that for perpetuity, if you will, because now you've got somebody who's been placed perfectly with you, and to be able to have that time too and that freedom back. So I'm glad to hear that you have that wonderful placement service. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. You articulated it very well. So I appreciate that. And another thing to add that I think we do very well is help you get really clear before you make that hire. So, anyone listening, if you're kind of in overwhelmed state, that's what comes first. Like all the things are on your plate, and then prioritizing how we're going to offload those in what order. It's a process. It's not just hiring someone. There's a lot of intricacies that go into it. So we're proud to be able to solve that for people.
Yeah, and that's very needed too, for sure. Good. Well, Molly Rose Speed, I have greatly enjoyed having you on the show today, and I'm sure our listeners will as well. So thanks again for being here, and wish you the best.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to Energy of Business Moments with your host, Michael Sipe. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.